It is Wednesday, December 24th, Christmas Eve. Merry Christmas to anybody who might be watching. Happy holidays if you celebrate something else. A lot of Michigan fans probably celebrate Hanukkah, so happy Hanukkah. Whatever you celebrate, I'm happy you're here watching on the holidays. I appreciate you spending your time here. We've got an announcement coming from On 3, the Wolverine, talking about somebody being vetted, some mutual interest possibly between Michigan and a candidate that I really like and that I view as a home run hire, hence the thumbnail. I want to talk about Todd Monken of the Baltimore Ravens. Before I do, I just asked that if you're invested in this coaching search in any way, if you watch multiple of my videos, you just like the video, you sub to the channel, you turn on notifications to keep up with Michigan, with college football. I cover it all. Without further ado, though, Todd Monken. We've been thrown a bunch of names, and none of them have really gotten us excited. I think most of us have let that be known. And it's kind of been the same names regurgitated here for a while with the order swapped and why we like this one and why we don't. And the whole time fans are saying, like, flip a coin for these guys. We don't care, pick one. It does not matter to us. They're all mid. Some of us have our preferences for some reason. Some of us think this guy could succeed better than this guy in Michigan. Anyway, Todd Monken is the first guy that immediately I saw and I got excited. I said, that guy can thrive at Michigan. And I've got some of his resume here behind the camera. I'll read off to you as we go. But if you don't know about Todd Monken, a lot of you probably think Ravens offensive coordinator and you think, oh, Harbaugh ties. And yeah, that's part of it, I would say. But at the same time, I think he fits Michigan for a lot of reasons. And I think as I get into it, a lot of people are going to be happy. Again, resume back here behind the camera. He was in college from 89 to 06. 59 years old. A lot of people see the picture on the thumbnail. You might be thinking he's a little bit older than that. He's not 59, not too old, not too young. I think he'd be okay at Michigan. I think he'd be able to coach for a while. Do I know if he would want to leave, go back to the NFL, anything like that? I don't. I don't really care at this point because options are seemingly slim, and he's better than most of them. So, his last year in college, at first, was with Les Miles at LSU in 05-06. Chooses to leave, goes to the NFL for a couple years as a wide receivers coach, I think, with Jacksonville. So he's got the pedigree with the wide receivers, with the quarterbacks. Comes back to Oklahoma State as their offensive coordinator. Obviously, does a fantastic job. Gets hired as the Southern Miss head coach. And you got to remember, this was a time when, this was like the natural progression of things. It wasn't the opposite way around. So these guys were taking Group of 5 jobs as like a huge step up. Southern Miss at the time was 0-12, and that was still a huge step up from a Power 4 coordinator. So he takes over an 0-12 Southern Miss. He goes, I believe, 1-11 first year. 3-9 second year, then he's 9-5 in his third year. You might be thinking 9-5, okay. Well, he also went 9-5 and won his conference 3 years after going 0-12, and he also won Coach of the Year in the conference. So I think that's a pretty good job there at Southern Miss. After that, leaves for the NFL. Again, massive pay raise. He's there as an offensive coordinator from 16 to 19. He made a fatal mistake. In the NFL. He had some connections. They led him this way. He ends up with the Cleveland Browns. Who would have guessed it? The Browns fire their head coach per usual. Obviously, the offensive coordinator goes with him. He needs a home. Where does he end up? He ends up in Athens, Georgia, with Kirby Smart and the Dogs as Kirby Smart's offensive coordinator in 2020, 21, and 22. You might be thinking, what happened in those years? I'm just kidding. You know what happened in those years. Georgia won 2 national titles. With a walk-on quarterback, with a great offense, granted, elite defense. But we're talking about a guy who made Stetson Bennett a walk-on into an NFL quarterback. Into, I believe, was he a Heisman Trophy finalist? He was up there if he wasn't in the voting. Either way, extremely impressive. And I think a lot of people talk about the quarterback development over and over and over again. Here's this guy. I've got a list of names here. Nick Mullins at Southern Miss was his quarterback. NFL guy from Southern Miss. Brandon Weeden at Oklahoma State. Heisman Trophy finalist, first round pick. Didn't work out because, again, listen, guys, he went to the Browns. It's the fatal blow. I'm telling you, just avoid the Browns if you're in the NFL. It's not that difficult. So overall, what I like about Jeff Monken is, you know, that he's a great offensive mind because he's a highly regarded offensive coordinator everywhere that he's been. You know that he's developed quarterbacks because he's done it. He's got Brandon Weeden. He's got, what's his name? Nick Mullins. He's got, in the NFL, currently Lamar Jackson. Can't forget about Stetson Bennett. And if you really looked at Ravens offense, the way that they're set up right now, that's kind of how people want to mold Michigan into. Like, it's set up for the success of a quarterback who isn't necessarily an elite drop back passer. Everything is based off a ton of misdirection, a ton of physical run game, a ton of gap scheme, and a ton of quarterback run, by the way, if you're into that. And I think a lot of people are into that, especially in college. And I think that can be highly successful. I think the Ravens, I'm an offensive line nerd. I'm a wannabe offensive coordinator, if you will. So I study run games a lot and like the creative ways that people attack it, other than Shanahan and the 49ers. Monken and the Ravens are some of the best at it. They're really creative. They run a ton of different run game, and they're really unpredictable with it. They do a great job designing it. They do a great job designing the pass game around it, especially with a quarterback who isn't a great traditional passer. A great play action game, a great RPO screen game. They teach everything the right way, fundamentals. They're a very physical unit all the time. So outside of the offense, outside of the great quarterback development that we know he's obviously shown, we also have the championship pedigree. We're talking about a guy who has worked with tons of NFL coaches, namely John Harbaugh for a while here. We're talking about a guy that worked with Les Miles and championship pedigree, Les Miles. Okay, I get it. Um, Also went and coached for Kirby Smart. That was his most recent stop in college, was as the Georgia offensive coordinator. And listen, this guy was sought after. Like being an NFL head coach, he preferred, or an NFL offensive coordinator or head coach, he preferred over most college head coaching gigs. I think Michigan would be a little bit different than being the head coach at Southern Miss, for instance. I don't see him I'm leaving for the NFL unless he was given a head coaching opportunity because I think he would be an offensive coordinator in the NFL again just next year if he really wanted to be. So Michigan wants him as the head coach and they get him, then he is choosing that over being an NFL offensive coordinator, and there's no doubt about that. Which brings me to my next point. Who've been Michigan's most successful defensive guys lately? It has been Mike McDonald. It has been Jesse Minner. It has been Wink Martindale. All off of this branch of this like Ravens tree of defense that comes from John Harbaugh. Todd Monken has built those connections. Todd Monken has a million connections because he's been so many places. He's been all across the NFL. He's been all across college football. He can build one of the best staffs in America. I have almost zero doubt about it. Something that interests me, and I don't know if he would bite. I don't. He coached with Glenn Schumann for a couple years. And you might be thinking, Glenn Schumann, he's not going to leave Georgia for Michigan for the same spot. Hear me out. Kenny Dillingham left Florida State to get away from an offensive minded head coach. Why don't you tell Glenn Schumann, hey, come coach under your old buddy, Todd Monken, who is an offensive minded head coach? Be the highest paid defensive coordinator in America and come to Michigan, coach under me. All of a sudden, Kirby Smart isn't getting credit for everything you do. People aren't saying, oh, that's just Kirby Smart's defense. They're saying, wow, Glenn Schumann really is one of the best in America. He left Kirby Smart and he's still elite. Maybe he is the next Dan Lanning, and all of a sudden Glenn Schumann's getting a head coaching opportunity. There have been people like me petitioning to give him one at Michigan. So I think that would definitely come if he could prove himself outside of the footprint of Kirby Smart. And I think that would be a petition you can make. If not, like I said, he has a ton of Ravens connections. He has a ton of connections in general. The guy would build a phenomenal staff. To summarize, great offensive mind, great quarterback developer, championship pedigree, Ravens connections, and a ton of connections in general. This guy fits Michigan's mentality. He fits their like smash mantra. I don't think we're going to use that anymore, but he fits like the footprint of Michigan, the DNA. It won't go anywhere. They'll still be known for recruiting offensive linemen, for running backs, for being downhill, for being physical, with a touch of helping the quarterback, with a touch of play action and RPO and screen game and being quarterback and wide receiver friendly, like a Georgia is. I mean, you don't. Georgia's not the team that goes out and gets all the 5-star receivers, but at the same time, they're not a place that people avoid. They're a place that can easily go get guys in the portal, a place that wide receivers and quarterbacks know that they can succeed. I think that Todd Monken could turn Michigan into that. So that's my elevator pitch. I think that Todd Monken should and absolutely could be the next head coach at Michigan. He's 59 years old, not as old as he looks in the photo. I want to hear what you guys think in the comments because to me, I'm taking Todd Monken over the coordinators because he's more experienced. I'm taking Todd Monken clearly over Poggi, who just had a terrible day on the Texas podcast. Don't get me even started about it. A 25 opt-out apparently. Don't know why you'd go public and say that. Again, catch me on TikTok if you want to hear me rant about it. See, or go Blue Chuck. So I would prefer him over those guys. I would prefer him over Drinkwitz. I would prefer him clearly over Brohm, clearly over Whittingham. It's not even close. This is a hire that would get me really excited. I want to hear in the comments, would it get you guys excited though? Sub to the channel, like the video. We're going to be talking Michigan year round, college football year round. Hope to see you sticking around.